Good day. My name is Noah Lopez, and you are watching episode number 6 of the Noah Lopez podcast. Today we're going to talk about the Renaissance man. Super excited to talk about this. So years before I had ever actually recorded my first episode, so a few years ago, I had the idea of wanting to start a podcast. I've always enjoyed listening to podcasts, watching podcasts on YouTube, and I've always enjoyed talking. So I figured, why not start my own podcast? All that to say, before I had ever created an episode, when I would think about subject matter or content for an episode, I always thought that my first episode was going to be about the Renaissance man. This is, such an exciting topic to talk about for me, because I really feel like the Renaissance period, I think that was from like the 14th to the 17th century, was the ideal for men. I think that's when societally we peaked as men. Those men were highly proficient, multifaceted, and skilled in a variety of different things. Like, they were strong, they exemplified, masculinity in that sense, strength. But they also were very creative and artistic and intelligent. I really feel like manhood peaked in the Renaissance. A couple of men from the Renaissance era, like Leonardo da Vinci, that's one of them. You might know him for the Mona Lisa. You might know him for painting the Last Supper. You might know him for inventing the first schematic designs for freaking flight, for airplanes. Dude was a genius. I remember I did a report on him back in 5th grade. And I had to draw that diagram and study human geometry and all kinds of. It was amazing when I had to just study for the report, because I had to write about him and what he had done in his lifetime. And man, did I pick the right person, because he accomplished a lot. And to this day, hundreds of years later, still know about him, talk about him, and revere his work. Michelangelo, that's another Renaissance man. Sistine Chapel. I'm sure his accomplishments extend far beyond that, but that's what he's primarily known for, or at least popular for. He also sculpted a massive marble statue of David. It was over 17 feet tall, symbolizing strength and vigilance and the ideal male. Dude, that's amazing. And I think we can see here also another common denominator is that these were godly men. Ding, 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 ding. I think we're hitting the nail on the head right there. Godly men, God-fearing men, curious men, and not so skewed or compartmentalized by narrow societal outlooks on how you need to behave. They weren't worried about fitting some kind of norm or shoving their conduct into this box, because how are we going to be perceived? They exemplified and radiated purpose and mission. And what I think is interesting is today you have so many different pictures of masculinity and manhood. What even is that? Especially in today's culture, you might even be demonized for talking about being a man. What even is that? And we should be able to have discussions about these things, and there should absolutely be a foundational standard that is the ideal for, and obviously we're talking about really broad, generalized type stuff. I'm not saying you need to do very specific. You can do what you want with your life, take it in any direction, and have any interests. But the underlying foundational values and moral compass and those things are important. I think there should be some consistency among those things. If they're so foundational and so important, we should absolutely establish a standard to aim for and to strive for. And when I think about what manhood should be, my brain goes straight to the Renaissance. They were good at freaking everything. These guys were you were a blacksmith, and you made your own shoes, and you freaking killed and made your own food, and made your own instruments. What the heck? Man, what a beautiful time. And I just wonder, what else is on the other side of human creativity and innovation? And if everyone kind of collectively gathered and said, hey, like, let's all be good people and try to, like, do cool stuff together, dude, it's limitless. But all that to say, there's men that are afraid of expressing their emotions. There's that weird kind of masculinity where, like, you're weak if you ask for help or if you feel sad about something. Like, I think that's super lame. You know, maybe I'm a mama's boy, maybe I'm a little biased, but I've always been super in touch with my feelings and I'm not afraid of it. And I don't think anyone should be. My mom always put a lot of emphasis on open expression. She always created a good space for me to feel like I could share and be vulnerable. And I think beyond a certain point it can turn into coddling, so, you know, exercise some discernment there. Don't be like don't over coddle someone or something like that. Like, I'm not advocating for that, but I think it's important for men to be vulnerable. It requires strength to be vulnerable. I think so many men are afraid to open up or express any kind of emotional vulnerability because they perceive it as weak or think it's gay. No offense. But, you know, it's just like, dang, man, like, just talk about it, bro. Like, you're sad or it hurts or you want to cry, like, it's cool. Like, that's how you feel. That's just as valid to express as your happiness and all the other things that you feel. But what is that shaped by? You know, what is that skewed by? There's so much programming, like, quite literally, like the programs on TV, the things that you watch, the way that your outlook is shaped and you don't even realize it. You know, you think, there's some very intentional motives behind these things too. Some principalities and ideologies at work trying to skew on a grand scale, you know, gender roles and what is a woman and what is a man. And I think that we've gotten very far away from what manhood should be. I think we should continue to strive to thrive in all these avenues, in all these areas, creatively, musically, artistically, physically. Men should be strong. We're protectors. Not to say women shouldn't be strong. I think women should be. I don't want some weak, frail wife. Hell no. My girl should be able to take care of the children when I'm gone. You know what I'm saying? Like, vice versa. Your man should be able to hold it down if you got to go on a mission and do something. Like, you should be able to protect. I think a man, it's very, it's so critical, imperative, like, it's like, man, protection goes hand in hand with being a man. Especially as a father, as a husband, you've got valuable things that you need to protect. And when you've got something to value, generally, other people want them. And we live in a pretty whack world, if you haven't noticed. They crucified a blameless man who was also God. Like, not cool. So, anywho, I digress. We need to have discussions about these things. Because also, one thing I've noticed about feminism, while we're talking about men and women, is I feel like modern day feminism embodies, like, all of the qualities of toxic masculinity, whatever that is. But it's like, the more dominant and like a man you can be as a woman, then the more empowered you are as a woman, because you don't need a man. Like, what's wrong with needing somebody? What's wrong with wanting somebody? What's wrong with relying on someone? What is this pride or this ego or this, like, what is that? This incessant need to be self-sufficient or independent. Like, okay, yeah, you could do a lot on your own, but, like, if you can help me out a little bit and it'll save me time and trouble, then yeah, you know, cool. Like, I don't know why everything has to turn into some kind of, like, mental tug of war or, like, jousting match over character. Like, so, anywho, the Renaissance man. I personally have always tried to embody this in my own life. I started playing the piano when I was like 9 years old. Went from picking up the piano to picking up the guitar to picking up the drums to picking up digital music production at around the age of like 13, learning about audio engineering, and like that was so much fun to me. And I'm very passionate about the left brain activities. And I also love swinging a hammer. I love lifting some weights. I love the intellectual and mathematical aspect of the construction and the numbers and the calculations and the angles, and then the human aspect of business and music and human expression and communication and connection and influencing and guiding and sharing and experiences with other people. Like all of these things, like why would you limit your life's expression to just a couple of these things, like to just this one thing? Like there's so much life. Jack of all trades is a master of none, but still always better than a master of one. Like that's cool, but I also think that like, why can't you be a master of all of it? Like, that's impossible. You can never be a master. You're gonna be a master at one thing. Malcolm Gladwell's 10,000 hours. Whatever, dude. You can put caps on things and try to evaluate them and draw conclusions as you see fit. But it's like, one thing I do know is like, why not dare to try? Why not have the aspiration? Why immediately shut yourself down? Why put that ceiling so low and close that? Like, no, dude. Like, what if you could be a master of a lot of things? And no one's done it because no one's ever dared to. And not even to say no one's done it. We have clear examples in humanity, in history. Even just the examples that I've given of men that have delivered a really high quality of human expression at like a high level. Innovation, creation, art, sound, science. And how much could we accomplish as a freaking world if like we were all that intentional about just like figuring stuff out and not tripping on the small stuff? Like, what else? Renaissance. Oh yeah, so I was talking about skateboarding. I got into skateboarding as a teenager. Love it. Like, those things are visceral. There are activities where you can, like, all of these forms of expression are important. And I think we should, it's just so much fun, man. Give it a shot. Like, pick up a guitar. You don't know how to play an instrument. Oh, I'm not musical. Well, you'll never be if you keep saying that about yourself. Like, literally just try it. Like, just give it a shot. Like, quit identifying with your disposition. Like, quit seeing all of these shortcomings and saying that's me. Like, nah, dude. Like, you can literally do whatever you want. You just have to want it enough, and you have to believe that you can have it. And I firmly believe that what the mind of man can conceive and believe, it can achieve. And I have yet to see anything that's contrary to that. With enough intention and enough attention, I really do believe that we can mold and shape an incredible world. And maybe I'm idealistic or whatever, but the Renaissance man, that connection with God above all else, I mean, that supersedes everything. It really does. It triumphs everything. If you could just have a relationship with God and Jesus and know Him on a personal level and walk with Him, man, like, that's a win. And then beyond that point, you're saying He gives us the ability to like have dominion over the earth and learn things and create things because we're made in His image and He's a creator, therefore we create things. I really do believe He delights in that, and that's one of the reasons I feel like it's not vain to aspire to do more of these things and to expand your abilities, and because I feel like it honors God. And I feel like there's so much that we haven't discovered about this plane yet. Like, there's so much here that, like, when you consider that all of these things, life as you know it, was shaped by ideas and people who thought about these things first before any of it materialized. And in my first podcast I talked about this, because outside of organic matter and like earth and animals, like that stuff that God made, like the rest of this is man-made. The ideas of like electricity and the way that PG&E has established all these electrical lines and modern electricity and that kind of science and what that is and what that's turned into. That's all the expression of like human thought and innovation. Go back to Thomas Edison. And to plumbing, to the roadways, to irrigation, to all of it. Like people had to think about this stuff and dare to actually do something about it. Like what if everyone else did what you do? And I'm speaking of myself in a lot of arenas because I know I do this. But what if all of these people that have done all these amazing things were like, that actually sounds crazy because that doesn't exist, so I'm just not going to do that. Like then we wouldn't we wouldn't have anything. We wouldn't have this digital camera, you wouldn't have the device that you're watching this on. We wouldn't have anything. Like all of this stuff is human ideas. So I think it's pretty ridiculous for the people that share the pessimistic outlook, like, oh, you can't, who are you to think that you could accomplish something? Like, who are you to think you can't? Look at all of this. And you're telling me that you don't think you can do something, like, because you have an idea, like, you don't think you can do that? Like, just do it. Like, just freaking do it. You know? Just do it. It's that simple. Just do it. Was that Shia LaBeouf? Just do it. You know what I'm referencing. If you don't know what I'm referencing, then you probably think I'm wildin', but it's all good. So I really thought that I had more to expand on the matter, but it's so cool to think that you could dedicate your life to mastery in so many cool things. You know, what interests do you have? What desires do you think God's put in your heart? Pray about it and pursue it. And trust that He's going to guide you through it. Just do it. Hey, that all rhymed. But seriously, you know, like, why overcomplicate stuff? And like, he who says he can, whether you say you can or whether you say you can't, you're right. You know, you've heard that quote. Like, just dare to do it and watch what happens. I really believe you can do it. And manhood is such an important thing. The role that we fill, sure, in society, but on a more personal level in our household, in our home. Who are you to the people that you love and love you most? How do you show up every day for your wife? How do you show up every day for your children, for your sons, for your daughters, for your mother, for your father? How do you show up for your people? How do you honor them through your conduct and through your mission, through your purpose? And how do you set an example for your kids to strive for? How do you inspire other people? How do you create that momentum that just drives positive energy and force for good and expansion and love and happiness and fulfillment and contentment? How can you be a force for that in your life? And how can you inspire that and drive that in other people? The Renaissance man. I want to learn how to make my own shoes. And, like, garden. I've always been so naturally curious about things, and it was when I got into construction that curiosity really started to run wild, because I realized that there was stuff that I used every single day of my life, but I never paid any attention to how it worked. You know, like the light switch that turns the light on, or the faucet that the water comes out of, or where does the poop go after you flush it? You know, like, hey, real questions. Real life questions that impact us all every day. Maybe you don't necessarily need to know the answers, but whoever put that stuff together absolutely did. So when I started to, like, quite literally well, I didn't literally go down a rabbit hole, but when I started to go down the rabbit hole, I was just like kept peeling that onion back because it was so interesting. Okay, that's where the wires go, that's where it comes from, that's where that goes to the street, to the PG&E place. Oh, okay. That's the water to the drains, to the sewage line, to the street drains, to, you know, to the sewage, whatever, water play, whatever. From the way that the what's the wall made out of? Where does the drywall go? What the heck is drywall? You know, it's all so interesting. And the way that I continue to try to build and expand in the physical world, I try to do in the creative and imaginative space with my music. And through life's experience, I really feel like it's just such a beautiful thing to grow. And you see everything else in the world grows. All the plants and all of these things, they grow. I think that's indicative of nature's design. We are also a part of that natural order. And I think we should grow. Aging happens against our will. And personally, I enjoy it. I like aging. I like the evolution of life. I love what it's becoming, and I look forward to growing older, God willing. But I think it's a beautiful thing. Anywho, before I get too sidetracked, like, all of these things in the world expand. If the little root didn't grow, well, then there'd be no fruit to consume. And I love fruit. I don't know about you, but fruit's delicious. Obviously, I'm using that as an analogy, but I like, quite literally, fruit is like really good. Like, dude, like pineapples, cherries, grapes, bananas, apples, pears, mangoes. Mangoes are my favorite fruit. Dude, the list goes on. Like, I'm about salivating just thinking about it. So all that to say, like, what fruit can you produce in your life? What fruit can you produce in your life? And what fruit can you help produce in others? And if we could you also got to recognize the benefit of being good at all of these things. You highly increase your value for everyone around you, but you also create your own kind of self-sustaining ecosystem. Now you're less reliant on like what everybody else does. You know, I don't have to worry about all of what's outside of, because I can literally do like all of, I can build my house. I can like freaking garden and feed my family, like, and create art and inspire people and like have a loving, like, wonderful life. Like, dude, that just sounds great. That just sounds great. And yeah, there's ups and downs, there's ebbs and flows, but I think we need to count it all good, because that's what God's word says. And we far too often draw way too many conclusions about things without knowing how it's all going to pan out. The story's not finished. It's all still being written. So instead of wasting time on worry and anxiety, realize that there's no benefit from dwelling on any of that. It's never done anything for you. Listen to God's word. Stop being anxious. Stop being fearful, and trust and have faith in His plan, and realize that what's in front of you, you can't even take it for face value, because it's just, hey, God, I already know you're going to do something good with this. And if we all walk through life's challenges with that faith and with that confidence and that assurance, I really do believe you hit some kind of flow state where you live the way that God intended it, and that's consistent and aligned with your purpose and your natural order in this environment and in this world. I think men should be fierce. I think men should be strong. I think men should know how to fight. I think if you even attempt to disrespect or harm what's mine, like, you're going to regret that decision. I think men should be lethal. Not to go out and weaponize ourselves and be harmful to the world, but on the contrary, to instill peace, to fight for order, for structure, for purpose. Protect those that can't protect themselves. And you should not be so like, oh, now let me be a meathead. Like, nah, bro. Like, that's cool if you want to be into those things, and I'm not casting any judgment, but also, like, dude, don't run so far into that direction that you compromise the emotional aspect of your personality, the loving, kind, caring, open, transparent. Like, those are all beautiful things, and they're on the spectrum of human experience, and I highly encourage you to spend some time on that side, because it's beautiful. Human expression and connection, man, it's beautiful. It's God's design. So, I could talk about this forever, but we'll continue to dive into this as the podcast goes, because I really think this is going to be the underlying theme behind everything. Like, we'll explore business topics and God and life and relationships and have some discussions. I'm excited to bring some friends on, some people that I talk to, other people in the community, and like have some open dialogue. And like, yeah, I'm stoked, and I'm excited to get this on streaming platforms eventually too. So at some point that's going to happen. But I used to be really stunted by my idea of perfectionism, so much so that it took me a really long time to even just record a first episode, because I thought, I need all these other things in order. I want, what streaming services am I going to be on? Who's going to be my digital, where am I going to do my digital distribution? How like all this stuff. And I was like, dude, all of that did was slow me down. And instead of wasting time on those details and that analysis paralysis, I just decided to start. And I think it's going to continue to evolve naturally, like everything else in my life and your life should. And now look forward to the next episode. So without further ado, thank you for watching. Let me know what you think about the Renaissance Man, and what you thought about this podcast, and your thoughts on the subject. Thanks for watching. Take care.